fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's going on, guys? Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Stateside Footy. It's your boy Steve checking in with you on a Sunday evening here in beautiful mid-Michigan. I'm just fucking around, guys. No, seriously, I hope you guys have enjoyed your weekend. Tomorrow, obviously, back to the work week, and I sincerely hope you guys enjoy it. I know I just kind of doomed everybody by bringing up work on a Sunday evening, man. See, that's a fail right there. I'm tired, guys. Just messing with you guys. Anyway, it is going to be a good show tonight as we are talking about who is going to be next for the U.S. men's national team, as we talk about some of the young stars that are going to be pushing their way into the senior national team within the next 4 years. Who's going to be getting their first caps, when they should expect to get their first caps, and what windows. It makes the most perfect sense. Before I begin, please do me a favor and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell because this is the point of the show where I beg for subscribers. Per the usual, it's par for the course. It's per the usual. And if you guys are tuning in on TikTok Live, first and foremost, I hope you're doing well. And also the link is in the description for you to head on over to YouTube to make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. All right, so I think we've kind of adequately laid the groundwork in the last couple shows that it looks, bearing any last second craziness on the point of the U.S. Soccer Federation, it looks like Mauricio Pochettino will be coming back to the U.S. men's national team. And I think I did a fairly adequate conversation talking about the leverage that Pochettino really kind of has. But one of the things that I think we have to discuss is what this next cycle, I guess you can say what it looks like, although that's not necessarily true, but it's more or less like the levels of responsibility in what he's going to have to in order to achieve these objectives. And first and foremost, it's going to be evaluation, right? Not just with the players that are going to be coming back, the pool as it stands, because that is equally important, of course. And I've been on the record so many goddamn times by, simply saying that what the Belgium match in the 2026 World Cup showed me was that this team is soft, and it has been soft for quite some time. And one of the things that Pochettino is going to absolutely have to do is he's going to have to rid this club of the soft underbelly. And if that means certain players are no longer going to be in the national team fold, so be it. He's going to have to evaluate the players that missed out on the World Cup, because I would probably assume that the likes of Diego Luna, Yunus Musa, Tanner Tessman, Johnny Cardoso, and of the likes are going to play a pivotal part. But that's just one quarter of the evaluation that he's going to have to do. The other evaluation is going to be dual nationals. Dual nationals are going to be a huge part of the process here, whether that's Noah Kai Banks, the goalkeeper, I think his name is Brandon Hazawa, and he's he's a dual national that, again, like Suzuki, has Japanese and American nationalities, and so from that standpoint, this might be an opportunity to elevate the goalkeeper position, which is going to be absolutely monumental. But the third is also going to be the young talent, the young internationals that are currently within the U.S. structure that are already making waves in Major League Soccer, that are going to be pushing their way up. Obviously, the young players that are in Europe that are going to play a pivotal role in this as well, too, that are going to be making their first caps within the next couple of years. And I think this is actually probably going to be the most pivotal. And the reason why I say that is because it's one thing that we just can't necessarily hammer down consistently. If you guys remember, essentially from 2008 all the way through 2017, the United States youth national teams weren't exactly lighting the world on fire. We could not, for the life of us, qualify for an Olympics, and we weren't producing the level of quality where every single cycle we always had that next coming through. Very rarely did we get it right. We did for the 2002 cycle, where you had guys like Landon Donovan and Gucci Onyewu, and DeMarcus Beasley, that were a part of essentially the Project 2010, and they were a part of the U17 World Cup. I think they were also a part of the Olympic Games in 2000. They played a pivotal role in that 2002 World Cup squad, and then of course a lot of those guys went on to the 2006, 2010, and so on and so forth, right? And then of course after we failed to qualify in 2017, there was that project of youthful U.S. men's national team players that are actually, a part of the player pool now. Essentially 3 World Cups later. But the reality is, every single cycle, there has to, we have to get to that. We have to get to that point where every single cycle we have at least 3 or 4 kids that are going to be pushing their way forward, that are going to be challenging the status quo, because we seem to do this quite a bit, which is, we seem to graduate certain players in a certain cycle. I don't know why I can't speak English. And then we allow those kids to mature, and then they will be a part of the U.S. pool, the U.S. player pool for 3 World Cup cycles. Meanwhile, we have to wait 2 or 3 cycles down the road in order to get that next crop. When it just seems like when there are certain moments where we're about to age out, and then all of a sudden we'll get that next influx. And to me, it's like, that is one of the, at least in my opinion, is one of the biggest things that never continue to push this program forward. Everybody talks about pay to play. Everybody talks about pro rel. And okay, cool, there's a conversation to have. But the reality is we are now in a position where we are getting, we are actually having youth now pop up in Major League Soccer, and that's a very good thing. And maybe this is the start of something, but it just seems to me that when a new cycle starts, we're always wondering who that next is, and it always seems like there are kids that are 2 cycles away, or kids that theoretically should be popping up are just not good enough. And so from that standpoint, to me, that is going to be the challenge moving forward. Is every single cycle there has to be kids that are on the cusp of breaking into the senior national team. And so essentially what that does is the bottom pushes itself up. And that means there's going to be youth internationals every single cycle that are going to be pushing their way through, challenging for starting positions. So we're not going to be heavily reliant on a Christian Pulisic for 4 cycles or a Tyler Adams for 3 cycles. They're like, for me, it's like, okay, great. That's fine. They've established themselves as full internationals, but that doesn't mean we have to rest on our laurels. There should always be that next group pushing their way forward, taking advantage of windows, essentially impressing head coaches to the point where, every single window, there should be at least, 2 or 3 individuals that, are making a name for themselves. And me personally, I just think it's high time that the U.S., finally gets to that point where every single cycle that is going to be a possibility. Because I got to be honest with you, man, I'm happy that we're back to a point where we're being competitive in the youth national tournaments, and that we're, qualifying for the Olympics. All of that is fantastic. But the reality is, it's like taking that next step with the youth national team, and actually developing a pipeline where, again, every single cycle we're actually promoting kids into the senior national team. The reason why I say that, I feel like this is going to be that cycle where we see potentially 5-6 new kids that are going to be getting their first caps. And so let's go ahead and get into it, because me personally, I kind of like the vibe of this collection. And of course, if you guys watch Major League Soccer, some of these names are not going to be new to you guys. And of course, we begin with Kevin Sullivan. And of course, he is. I hate to use this term, but it's true. He's kind of been anointed as that next, right? The next U.S. Wonder Kid, i.e., what Landon Donovan was in 1998, 1999, what Christian Pulisic was in 2016, 2017. Kevin Sullivan seems to be that kid that a lot of U.S. men's national team fans are kind of hanging their hat on. And while I do like Kevin Sullivan, understand that Philadelphia has kind of slow rolled him at the Major League Soccer level. A couple seasons ago, I think he only appeared in 3 matches. Last year, it was 11 where he started 1. This year, he's already started 9. So he's now a full, I guess you can say, first team member of the Philadelphia Union. 9 starts, 16 appearances, 812 minutes. He's only got a goal and assist. So really, there's only 2, essentially 2 goal contributions so far in this Major League Soccer season. But let's understand, it's only 812 minutes. And so you can understand why Philadelphia is doing it, because he's only 16 years old, for Christ's sake. And the last thing that they want to do is maybe push this kid farther than he's absolutely capable of doing. But that being said, you see the talent that Kevin has. And of course, he kind of plays that 10 position, which is, as far as I'm concerned, that's absolutely nice. It's nice to see that the skill positions are actually being manned by some of these young kids that actually have the technical ability. The interesting thing about this is the question about whether or not Kevin Sullivan is going to be ready for the senior national team at this young of age. And, listen, man, when every single time that you see, you see a Landon Donovan do it at 17, 18, you see Lamine Yamal do it for Spain. And it's like, okay, well, those are isolated incidences where that coach, that federation decided, okay, cool, this kid is ready. Christian Pulisic at 17 years old was the youngest to do it for the U.S. men's national team. And they decided, Jurgen Klinsmann at the time decided that he was ready for the responsibility. The question I think everybody has to ask themselves with a guy like Kevin Sullivan, is he ready to handle the responsibility of what comes with wearing the badge at such a young age? One of the things we do not want to do is put him in a position where he's not ready. And that's something that you always have to ask yourself with kids. Now, the interesting thing about Kevin is in a couple of years, he'll be going to Manchester City at 18. And so from that standpoint, all of this right now is just building to that moment where he actually makes his move to a big club overseas. So it's going to be interesting. But I would say that one of the things that we can do in this cycle, in conjunction, like, if it is possible that he's going to be playing in the LA Olympics in 2 years, okay, that's great. So there are opportunities where Pochettino and a guy like Steve Cherundolo, who is the U23 coach, essentially the Olympic team coach, can map out different windows where you potentially could not only conceivably see Kevin play, but also play a huge role within the next 2 years leading into the 2028 Olympics, right? So the first thing is, you want to map out what will be, I guess you can say, low risk environments in order to A, get him his first caps, but also B, put him on a platform where the lights aren't necessarily so bright where he feels like he has to take the game over, because that's not what you're looking Kevin Sullivan to do. You're just looking to get him introduced into the senior national team. And from there, you kind of build into it a little bit, right? And so the interesting thing is, I was having a conversation with this guy on X who wants Kevin Sullivan to Sullivan, to be a part of the next 2 windows. And I'm like, well, let's just hold your roll real quick, because personally speaking, I don't think September is going to be that window. I really don't. And I certainly don't think November is going to be that window either. September, I would probably assume is going to be a reintroduction into a new cycle for the guys that we saw at the World Cup. I really do believe that. And maybe there might be 4 or 5 different spots for guys that, just barely missed the World Cup roster. And again, it is, this, I guess you can say this window is to set the standards and set the new expectations for what this window is going to be. And then, of course, in November, it is the start of, for the U.S. at least, it's the start of the Nations League, right? The quarterfinals. And so from that standpoint, you're going to have two competitive-ish windows for the U.S. men's national team, where one of the things you do not want to do is bring in young kids that, potentially aren't going to necessarily be ready for the responsibility yet, right? Which is why I always point to December, because that is the perfect time to bring in a guy like Kevin Sullivan, because it is such a low-risk environment. It's Camp Cupcake. It is your domestic window where you're going to be able to bring in other guys, other cool players that play in Major League Soccer, guys that he's familiar with, against opponents that are not the greatest CONCACAF opponents, right? Like we'll be playing teams like Costa Rica, or the Grenadine, the Grenadine Islands, or Costa Rica. Maybe like we're going to be playing St. Kitts and Nevis or something like that. Some low-ranking CONCACAF opponent where conceivably it's almost a layup, even for domestic B and C side players when you're bringing them in. Like, to me, that is the perfect opportunity to bring in a guy like Kevin Sullivan, where you can showcase him against weak opponents, but it's also an opportunity for a guy like Pochettino to have more than a couple of weeks with him as well too. So it's the expectations and the standards get ingrained into a young kid like Kevin Sullivan, and he gets his first taste, and from there then you can build him up, right? So we saw this a couple years ago when a guy like Diego Luna or Patrick Agyemang or Max Arfston or Alex Freeman were getting their first taste at Camp Cupcake, and because of the impressive way that they did, they were invited into the next camp. They were a part of the next camp. And then they went to Gold Cup, right? And so conceivably that would be the start. That would be the starting time, right? Even if they don't make that March roster, you can still bring them into Gold Cup, and at that point, it's a step up, but not a huge step up where you're worried about the competition being a little bit overwhelming. And so from that standpoint, that would be, as far as I'm concerned, like if we're thinking about bringing Kevin Sullivan at 16, 17, Camp Cupcake would be, as far as I'm concerned, would be a good starting off point for a kid of that age. So for me, as much as I like what I've seen from Kevin, I think you're going to have to be strategic with them. And for those that are saying like, maybe he should switch positions, it's like, I'm kind of against that. And the reason is, it's like you just want a young kid to develop where he's most comfortable at. This is not the opportunity to start chopping and changing his positions and having him learn how to ride a bike again. It's like, if he's comfortable being an attacking mid, then let him be an attacking mid, man. Let the kid cook. He's only going to get better at that position. Maybe this is a situation where, his high ceiling is going to actually manifest itself into something that we haven't seen at the position. Maybe in 3 years, he's actually going to be better than a Malik Tillman. We don't know, obviously, how he's going to develop. But that being said, it's like, I look at this as something where it's like, okay, cool. If he's an attacking mid, then let's just keep him there. Let's see. David Day, 2373, says we should have California versus Florida, the Northeast versus the Midwest, etc. As far as what youth development tournaments, I'm kind of curious. Or are we talking like what, Major League Soccer? Maybe. The whole Miracle on Ice team, they had regional pride and rivalries amongst each other in the national hockey team. Yeah, and then Herb Brooks beat that out of them too, right? Because they when they brought him, it's funny because the story is when they were all invited to that Olympic tryout, and after the team was named in that first in that first practice, a couple players got into a fight because of their college rivalries, and Herb Brooks had to essentially beat it out of them, because that was counterintuitive to them actually building a team. The next guy that I want to talk about is goalkeeper Diego Cochin, because this one is kind of interesting, because the way that I look at Diego is this kid to me is next. And so far, since I've seen him at his on his loan move at Lyngby, is that how you pronounce it? Lyngby. And in the Danish Super League, he has looked absolutely fantastic. I think he's played he's played in 2 matches so far, and he's actually looked, as far as I'm concerned, he looks incredibly comfortable on the ball. Looks good with the ball at his feet. And listen, this is the way that the game is played, right? We don't develop goalkeepers the way that we used to. And I think, Brad Friedel, who worked with both Matt Freese and Matt Turner for a spell in Major League Soccer. He was a part of a youth national team where they wanted to bring in Matt Freese, and a lot of I think the story goes that a lot of cross-checkers didn't want him because he wasn't great with the ball at his feet. And Brad Friedel was like, yeah, but he stopped shots. What are we talking about here? But the reality of the modern game of soccer is that goalkeepers are considered like another outfield player. So they have to be good with the ball at their feet on top of being able to stop shots. And when you look at a kid like Diego Cochin, who was brought up in the Barcelona system, he essentially was brought up playing the Spanish style of football. And so from that standpoint, you're kind of looking at him and you're kind of looking at the intangibles the kid has. And when you see him not flinch under pressure, very calm with the ball at his feet, is able to pinpoint and make precision passes. And from that standpoint, you also look at his shot stopping ability, and you see a young goalkeeper that is absolutely primed and ready for the modern era of this national team. And again, the question is like, when is it going to be acceptable to start bringing them into national team caps? The interesting thing is, I would probably think that September would be fine. Believe it or not, I think it would be fine. If the common theme is that maybe we'll see the 3 goalkeepers that we saw at the World Cup, okay, that's great. But we also know that Pochettino doesn't have a problem bringing in 4 goalkeepers. We saw Roman Celentano being brought in, and us having 4 goalkeepers on a international roster, and this would be an opportunity for Diego Cochin to get in, to work with our goalkeeper coaches at the senior level, but it's also for Pochettino to do his evaluations as well too, because one of the things that Pochettino also requires of his goalkeepers is to be good with the ball at his feet. And listen, he traded some of that off for the ability to stop shots. That was the reason why Matt Freese was the starting goalkeeper in the World Cup, is because he probably is the best shot stopper of the group. The trade-off is that with a guy like Matt Turner, who is a little bit better with the ball at his feet, might be a little worse as a shot stopper. You have to kind of trade, right? We don't have that prototypical modern style goalkeeper where he's able to do both extremely well. The upside isn't there with really the goalkeepers in our pool. And so from that standpoint, it's like, okay, fine. This might be an opportunity where Diego Cochin gets in early, and depending on how he trains, depending on the way that Pochettino is evaluating, there could be a very good opportunity in the September-October window where he actually grabs his first start. And from that standpoint, I wouldn't have a problem with this. With goalkeepers, one of the things that they absolutely need, especially at the international level, is caps. That's number one, and also minutes as well too. One of the things that you have to develop that consistency and that continuity at the goalkeeper position. You actually have to know that every single time that you come in, that you're going to be 1A or 1B. And so from that standpoint, goalkeepers are a little different to me than strikers and attacking midfielders, right? Because one of the things you want to do with a goalkeeper is you want to keep that rhythm going. And so by the end of year 3, he should have 20 caps in his bag. And he should be going into that last phase of World Cup qualifying as the undisputed number 1. I look at Diego Cochen as the number 1 right now. Believe it or not, I really do. And that's nothing against Chris Brady or Matt Freese or Matt Turner. But that being said, it's like you look at his player profile and exactly to what Pochettino needs from a goalkeeper. This kid has it, and he has it in spades. Absolutely, without a doubt. Let's see. Andy Goat says, "What is my MLS team?" It's Seattle. Yeah, it's Seattle. Born and raised, and I actually watched Seattle back in their USL days, back before they came into Major League Soccer. So I go back, dude. I remember back when they were in the A League. So it goes back a ways. Hey there, found your channel the other day. Really enjoying the show. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We have Dumble Durag says, "How's it going?" It's going, my guy. King Dragon, hello from the UK. What's going on, my guy? Quick question for you, by the way, King Dragon. Who replaces, by the way? Who replaces Harry Kane up top when he's done with the national team? That's a good question. Let's see. I think during the sprint, Crew have a chance at the cup. I don't know, man. I don't know. So, listen, if Wilfred Nancy was still the head coach of Columbus, I just might be there. I might be there with you. Wilfred Nancy had a good thing going in Columbus where it was the next guy up. Everybody seemed to understand exactly what their role was on that team. Did they spend tons of money? Not really. But what they were able to do was find players that were right for Wilfred Nancy's system. They always just seemed to keep that machine running. Now all of a sudden, you lose. You lost Aiden Morris. You lost Cucho Hernandez. Now you lost Max Arfston, and it's like, who's the next man up? How is it going to fit? How is it going to work? Are there going to be enough goals? Because understand they still haven't replaced Cucho, right? So who knows exactly where those goals are coming from? But in a sprint season, yeah, maybe. I think in a sprint season, I guess it's anyone's MLS Cup, really. This to me, by the way, reminds me of like the bubble season in the NBA where the LA Lakers will claim the championship. But that being said, it's like, dude, does it really count? Not really. I think Courtois, our interim, will run it similar to Nancy, and we are starting to spend money and sell players. Okay. Yeah, they're certainly selling players. Let's see. Sam Jimbo said, Brendan Aronson had a great game today. Goal and assist against Liverpool, 4-2 win. Did you see? I did not. But by the way, Brendan Aronson, by the way, is on the cusp of signing a new 4-year deal with Leeds. And so Brendan will stay a part of that system for the time being. Also, it looks like Gio Reyna, by the way, is going to be making the moves to Strasbourg. So it looks like a fee has been agreed between Borussia Mönchengladbach and Strasbourg for $3 million. So not exactly the highest fee in the world. But that being said, it looks like he's going to go to Strasbourg in Ligue 1, which I actually am okay with. It is a league that requires physical ability, and it requires players to actually kind of be in peak performance and max shape. Talent has never been an issue with Gio. It really has been, I guess you could say, form. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. You think? Oh, okay. So Sam Jimbo says, I think it's going to be Nottingham Forest, Hull City, and Ipswich. Yeah, those were my three as well too. All right, let's go. Let's see. Thoughts on the possible 30 million market cap. I heard it was going to be like 25. But that being said, like anywhere between 25 and 30, I think it would be acceptable. Usually, you're looking at net spends when it comes to Major League Soccer. With a cap that sizable, you're probably looking at total, I guess you could say, total wage spend, which is going to be a little bit over 100 million. And that's kind of where a lot of owners kind of want to be. They want to build rosters that aren't slotted with TAM and GAM, which will allow teams to be able to have the flexibility to bring in the quality and bring in the depth that teams need, man. So from that standpoint, I'm 100% for it. The only question that I have with Major League Soccer is if they get rid of TAM and GAM, if they get rid of the current structure and they raise the cap, and even if they get rid of the, I guess you could say, the Eastern and Western Conference and go to a more divisional setup, is that still going to, how does that eliminate the problem of having no games of consequence in the regular season? That's a question that I always have. It's like, because that's always going to be a problem. That during the regular season, nobody's going to give a shit about it, especially when 60% of your teams make the playoffs. Everybody's just going to wait for the playoffs to start. That's the problem with Major League Baseball. That is the problem with the NBA. And to some extent, the National Hockey League. The only league that doesn't have it is the National Football League, because they only play 18 games. And because they're kings of selling storylines, they're able to create villains and heroes. They're able to keep people invested on a week-to-week basis because there's only 18 of them. With Major League Soccer, it's like 38, and it's we'll see. Pro Rel kind of fixes that, but that's never going to happen. He can't make a PK, but talks about okay. I can't kick a ball. Have you seen me not kick a ball, Dusty? Yeah, all right. There we go. Anyway, let's continue. All right. So the next guy I want to talk about today is Xavier Gozo, because this kid is electric. And from what I've seen at Real Salt Lake this season, is a very confident young wiener. Currently, I guess he's listed as a right midfielder. That's, I guess, one way to put it. But this season, 16 starts, 1,415 minutes, 6 goals, 4 assists. That's actually not a bad goal output, for the fact that he's 19 years old. And maybe it's just me, but I think that he's in a little bit of a different class. Like, this is these are the type of age ranges where if you're in the right league, you're going to be playing at a high level, right? So for instance, like if he was brought up in the English system or the Spanish system, he would be already playing top flight ball in those higher leagues. Granted, he's American, so he is playing in our top flight. But that being said, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to think that Xavier is going to get a move either late in this window, in January or next summer at the max. The kid has got real talent, but he also plays for a team that's not going to stand in his way of making a move. What I like about Xavier is the kid's quick, but his technical ability and his ability on the ball. Not only is that upper level type of not only is that upper level, but also when it comes to taking on defenders, he's not afraid to do it. He'll push the end line. He can cut in on his weak foot and still make plays. Right, that is the sign of a kid that just understands his strengths and is not afraid to play to them, as it's seen in his goal production. The kid is just absolutely electric. Now, the thing about this is, it's again the same situation. It's like where would be the right opportunity to bring him, and again, would it be out of the realm of possibility to see him in September? There were fans calling for him to be on that March roster heading into the World Cup. And I was like, it's probably too soon. This is going to be a post World Cup type of call-in. And the thing about this is it's not going to be hard to envision him having a good Leagues Cup with Real Salt Lake. And if he does have one of those type of Leagues Cup where he kind of puts himself on the map, then yeah, maybe I could see a September call-in. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how this works out, right? Personally, gun to my head, if you said, "Hey, listen, who would you rather have on your roster, Tim Weah or Xavier Gozo?" I'm taking Xavier Gozo. I've seen enough of Tim Weah to understand exactly what he is and what he is not. And as this moves forward, I still believe that Tim is going to have a role within the national team, but we're also talking about the next evolution high up the pitch off the right-hand side. So from that standpoint, one of the biggest weaknesses was the fact that we didn't necessarily have that right-sided winger, because personally, he likes to play. Pochettino likes to play, an attacking four with a 10, two wingers, and a striker. That's the way that he's always really done things. The reason why he had to switch to it is we didn't necessarily have that type of complement on that right-handed side. You're trying to pigeonhole a guy, like Timmy Way up there. He didn't like what he saw from Timmy. Brendan Aronson was up there a little bit. They tried Yunus Moose off the right-hand side for a couple windows, and it didn't necessarily work out the way it is. But this is the type of guy where you bring in, and if he continues to develop and he gets his move, you're also talking about a guy who's going to be competing in the 2030 World Cup without a doubt. Like, he is going to be, like, if you ask me who's going to be getting the first caps of all these guys, it's probably going to be him, because I think he's actually ready right now to be able to make that step into international football. I don't think you need to slow roll him with a camp cupcake. I think there are certain players that you do need to bring him in at camp cupcake, and then let them build their way into the national team. I don't think this is one of those guys. I think that he is confident enough to be able to handle the responsibility. And if there's an opportunity in September, in the September-October window, for him to make his debut, me personally, it's like him and Diego coach, and I can see that happening. I can easily see that happening. And I also think that he probably hits the ground running. Like, I'm actually confident in this kid's ability, not only to get his first cap, but also potentially make a statement in this window, depending on the opponent, depending on the way that Pochettino wants to do things. But that being said, it's like I've been 100% vocal that there are certain players on this team that have essentially led to the soft underbelly of this national team, and there's going to be popular guys that are going to be jettisoned aside. And Timmy Way is one of those type of guys. Me personally, I don't think he has the toughness when it comes to big time moments. We saw that in Copa America, but also I think he's had his time with the national team. I still think he's got a future, but when it comes to major international tournaments, we need somebody better. And that better is Xavier Gozo, without a doubt. Let's see. Andy Goat says, I bet Pro Rel happens within 5 years. We know it's going to happen inside the USL. That's going to happen within 2 years. But with Major League Soccer, something absolutely catastrophic is going to have to happen before Major League Soccer opens up to Pro Rel. Do you think we should call them in for a camp cupcake or the September friendlies? See, that's the thing. Some of them might be ready for the September friendlies, and others you're going to have to start a camp cupcake, without a doubt. Like, the next guy we're going to talk about, Julian Hall, he is going to be a camp cupcake guy for me, without a doubt. And the reason being is I like Julian Hall and I like his profile. I don't necessarily know long term if he is. I don't know long term if he is a striker, but I mean, maybe he is. Me personally, I'm not necessarily in favor of switching positions if you absolutely have to. And so from that standpoint, the way I look at it is, as of right now, he's doing a very good job as, Red Bull striker. Matter of fact, 18 starts this season, 1,551 minutes, 9 goals, 3 assists, 12 GA. And so from that standpoint, you look at the production, and he's more than able. He's absolutely more than able to handle his own at this level. Essentially being a target 9. So from that standpoint, it's like, okay, cool. If the production is matching the output, I'm 100%. I'm 100%. But when I look at the current striker pool, and you see Flo Balogun, who most likely is going to be moving to PSG. So he's going to be playing a very, very, very big role. You look at Ricardo Pepi, who's still with PSV, but could be on the move. It's a wait and see. And then you have Haji Wright, who's going to be in the Premier League this season with Coventry. And it's like those three guys are 100% going to start the cycle as the top three strikers. From there, it gets a little murky because you have Damian Downs, who's in the Championship with Southampton. You have Patrick Agyemang, who's coming back from injury. You have Josh Sargent, who's with Toronto. And so from that standpoint, Camp Cupcake is the perfect for me at least is going to be the perfect time to bring in a guy like Julian Hall, because he now actually gets to compete head to head with a Josh Sargent, who probably will be there. Maybe who knows other young strikers within Major League Soccer that are going to be able to get their first looks as well too. But from that standpoint, for me, that is the optimum time to bring in a guy like Julian Hall. Again, low risk environment. You get to pair him with other young players in Major League Soccer. For me, that would be the opportune time, and you actually get to build that continuity and chemistry with some of these young guys that you're going to be seeing at LA 2028. Right? It's you kill two birds with one stone when it comes to Camp Cupcake in December, without a doubt. Same thing with Audrey Mehmeti. And again, when you're looking at the CDM, the CDM pool, and Tyler Adams is there, and you see Johnny Cardoso is going to be there, Tanner Testament, Aiden Morris. It's like, okay, so that's going to be a stacked position as well too. And now you have this young kid who is also potentially ready to make that jump up. But that being said, it's like, you have others that are ahead of you, and conceivably you can see those three being called in September and November. And so that kind of leaves Camp Cupcake as that opportunity for them to get those starting minutes in a domestic window. And from there, it's all uphill, because again, after Camp Cupcake, you have the March windows, and then you have Gold Cup. And again, I'm a huge proponent of this, where this is the Gold Cup, especially if you're going to have players not being a part of it. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. If a lot of our senior players don't want to take advantage of what Gold Cup could be, then you might as well use it as a young proving ground for some of these young stars. Xavier Gozo should be a part of Gold Cup. This is you probably will see Max Arfson. You probably will see Sebastian Berhalter come back for for the Gold Cup as well too, right? So it's like you're going to have a mix, but the reality is, it's like, okay, cool. As far as I'm concerned, this is those two windows are going to be pivotal, especially for the maturation of some of these young players, but also if they're able to prove themselves first with Camp Cupcake, and then they make the step up to the Gold Cup, and they're able to do that, then all of a sudden now you have 3 or 4 of these guys that you can literally bring along and start World Cup qualifying in September of 2027, without a doubt. And that's exactly what you want to see. Let's see. The next generation will be better than the current. I am hopeful. Yeah, see, that's the thing, is I look at that as the same. I look at it as the exact same. And this has been my biggest issue with the United States and their player development, is it's not every window. It's just not. We've seen good young talent come when it almost felt like it was needed the most. After that 98 cycle, when we bottomed out in France, all of a sudden we had 2 or 3 very young kids pop up in 2002. We didn't necessarily see it in 2006. We didn't necessarily see it in 2008. We saw some new faces, but those guys were established pros that were already in Major League Soccer. We didn't see it in 2014 either. But we saw it after we failed to qualify. Then we saw it because we absolutely had to have it, but we didn't see it. We didn't see it after 2022, and we certainly didn't see it heading this last cycle. We didn't see it. And that's the biggest problem. It's like every single cycle, when that window closes and one opens, there should be at least 3 or 4 young kids that are ready to push their way into the senior national team that are going to make life difficult at certain positions. That's the only way that this national team is going to grow. And it has nothing to do with pay to play. It has nothing to do with pro rel. It's just a concerted effort from the federation to make sure that every single cycle there's going to be that next. It always seems like they're 3 or 4 years away, or they're just not good enough. And that it's high time that we actually get out of that cycle, because the last thing I want to see is these young kids come up, make their impact, make their World Cup debut in 4 years, and then they're part of the next 3 cycles, and we have to wait 3 cycles for that next young group of kids to finally push their way through. That to me is the priority. Liam Stribling, young with Nashville, crazy talented. I agree. And it's interesting. And it's interesting to see exactly what his ceiling is going to be. Now, I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I've only that's the thing. It's like I haven't seen enough of them to give you a full analysis of them. And yeah, Neil Pierre, that's another guy. Him and Christopher Cups, both Pierre and Cups should be a focal point of this upcoming cycle as well too, because center back, as far as I'm concerned, should be an open competition, right? Chris Richards will be there. Austin Trusty will be there. Maybe Noah Kai Banks will be there. Maybe. But that being said, everything else is open. When you look at the fact that Tim Ream is going to be gone, Miles Robinson should be gone. Alex Freeman is going to be your future right back. He should not be used as a center back. That means you're going to have 4 or 5 different spots open. One of them is going to be a starting spot. Me personally, I think Mark McKenzie is probably going to be there. But that being said, we can always get better. And when you see a kid like Pierre, who is absolutely killing it right now for Philadelphia, and you see the way that he's playing, it looks like he's a man. He's a man among a boy among men, right? Like a man among boys. Me personally, since coming back from the World Cup, he's gotten 2 starts, only 215 minutes, but he's also scored 2 goals in the process, and he has looked absolutely brilliant. And that's the thing. It's like, how do I, that's the thing. It's like, how do I process this, right? Considering he hasn't really played a lot. Does that mean that I want to slow roll him because he's 18 years old? Like, how do you proceed, right? And especially with young center backs, is this something where it's like, do you just want to give him a cap in September and see how he does, or is this thing where do you want to be strategic? Because I got a very good impression that Tim Ream will be a part of the September-October window. I have a feeling that Chris Richards will be a part of that window as well too, and same thing with Mark McKenzie, same thing with Austin Trusty. I have a feeling that we're going to see a bulk of the defenders that we saw at the World Cup. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think that's going to happen. And so the question is this, and especially when you're looking at what this window is in September and October is about, the one in November as well too, that's going to be a competitive window because it's Nations League quarterfinals. And of course, our goal is to win it this time around. Is there going to be an opportunity to give caps to a young center back, or is this something that you wait until December in Camp Cupcake? Because me personally, that's where Christopher Cupps is going to go for me. I like Christopher Cupps. I think he's going to be a very good center back for the U.S. And the same thing with Pierre. Me personally, this is a Camp Cupcake type of deal. I just have a feeling that Pochettino is going to be he's going to attack this September October window a little bit differently than people are expecting me to. That's just the way I feel. I really do. And I think we're going to see a lot of the guys that we saw at the World Cup in September. To me, at least, it's natural. Let's see. I think we should take Gold Cup seriously if we want to continue to dominate our region and compete globally. I don't think that competing globally is mutually exclusive with either, because we dominated our region heading into World Cup 2022, and what did that do? Didn't do anything. Now, granted, you want to be at the top of the mountain if you're a confederation, without a doubt, and you also want to dominate World Cup qualifying. It gives you a better seed in the World Cup, without a doubt. But beating up on CONCACAF minnows does absolutely nothing to prepare you for the World Cup, which is why I'm like, I would rather the Gold Cup be in Mexico, because it forces us to be uncomfortable and we have to compete on somebody else's soil. I want the Copa America to be in South America. I want us to travel to it. And I want us to compete in hostile environments. I would like to at least have one window be in Europe, whether that's the September-October window. I would like for that to be in Europe, where we're actually forced to play Germany or the Netherlands or England there. I think it would be beneficial for our European-based players, where they don't have to travel, 18 hours to come to the United States to play, play friendlies that they really would rather not. And they're going to be playing high-level opponents in Europe. That is what makes you compete globally, not beating up on Jamaica or Panama 5 times a year. That doesn't do anything for you globally. Do you think Major League Soccer will have a Division II and try to take USL teams? I don't think we'll see expansion. I think 30 is, maybe we might see 2 more, maybe. But yeah, they've already done that. They've already taken away, USL markets, but realistically, you could have a Division II right now. If you wanted to go 15 and 15, if you wanted to do that and have promotion relegation with inside your 2 division, they can do it right now, without a doubt. Star Wars Satan, sorry I'm at work. We'll listen tonight. All right, man. There's Nateski. Nateski's in the house. All right. RIFC TID, Rhode Island FC. I love it. Let's see what's going on here. Who's winning the Prem? Spurs. That's who's winning the Prem this year. Am I a wrestling fan? I am not. 100% in agreement. We play at home too much. We should definitely play more meaningful opposition, but the more teams play together, it creates more chemistry. Yeah, that's true. But one of the things that Jurgen did very well, and this is one of the areas that I give Jurgen a lot of credit, is that he took the show on the road. And he recognized there were certain windows where you could do it as well, too, where the European-based talent doesn't have to travel a lot. They can meet you in Italy. They can meet you in Germany, whatever the case may be. And he did that. He tried to do that at least, once a year. We went to Germany. We went to the Netherlands. We went to Bosnia. We went to Scotland and played Scotland there. We beat Italy in Italy. Granted, it was a friendly, but we still beat them there. And it's that type of opposition that really kind of sharpens the blade a little bit more. Because when you're playing at home and you're playing the same 5 CONCACAF teams that you're generally going to see in CONCACAF competition, it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't tell you where your team needs to be. The only thing that comes close to that is the old Hex in World Cup qualifying. That actually kind of did. Because you were forced to go on the road to win points. And some of those places, man, those places are tough. Trying to go to get try to get a result at Estadio Azteca in World Cup qualifying is damn near impossible. Damn near impossible. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for me. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I am going to cut tonight's show a little short, about 5 minutes short, because I got work in the morning. But San Jimbo says, "What about Rokas Puskas?" Yeah, and that's my favorite of them. That is of all the young forward players right now, it's him. And he plays for Hajduk Split in the Croatian league, and last year was, as far as I can tell, is a career year, considering it was his first. But listen, this is going to be a kid who's going to be at the Olympics, should be at the Olympics. I think he's going to be 23, if not 24, but he can still probably take an overage slot. But the reality is, he is somebody that I am 100% high on, because he can play a few different positions for you. If you need him to be an attacking mid, he can do that. If you need to play out right, he can do that as well too. If you want to drop him back a little bit, and him being a box to box, he can also do that for you as well too. And his passing ability is second to none, and he can score goals as well too. Of the guys in Major League Soccer, there are like 2 or 3 that I think are ready right now. And of the young players in Europe right now, this kid is 100% ready. And there's even talks of him going to Hull City in the Premier League. I don't necessarily know how legit that is, but if he makes that switch to Hull City and plays for essentially what I would consider a relegation side in the Premier League, not only will it be a trial by fire, but you'll get a very good look at just exactly where he's at in his developmental curve. But that being said, it's like, the way I look at it is, for September, October, maybe even November, he needs to be brought in. He needs to be around that group. And he needs to play with some very good players. And Pukstas is, me personally, I think he makes the 2030 World Cup roster. All right, guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell. That's going to do it for me. Take care.
Rusted goalposts under fading sky.